UK, Denmark were playing Finland in Group B in the Women's Euros at Stadium MK in Milton Keynes. I'm going to say this from off the bat. Not the best game at the Euros so far. I think possibly the worst game at the Euros so far. However, it did not finish goalless. Not a single game so far has finished goalless, which is a little interesting fact that in the last 3 major tournaments I've watched, there's only been, I think, 3 goalless games or something. Only a handful of goalless games. So as I said in the previous match review last night, I do believe goals per game average across international football in both the men's and women's games has clearly gone up. Because the amount of goals being scored is so far in the tournament is higher than the previous tournament. That record's already been broken. And no goalless game so far, and we're midway through the group stage, basically. So, really, really interesting. But let's break down the performance. And I'm going to try to do this without boring you guys, because there were times where this game wasn't great. You can attribute it partly to Finland's defensive formation and their defensive counter-attack style tactics, and Denmark not really settling into their flow until they score the goal, which is on the 71 minutes from Pernile Harder, and it's a cheeky little header. Ball's headed back across goal, pings off the bar, and that's a sniper's finish, and she's one of the best goal scorers in the women's game, in fact one of the best players in the women's game. And that's great, again, great support, follow-up play from an attacking forward, supporting in the box, and you've got to fight for those rebounds, and right place, right time, and possibly the easiest goal she'll score for quite a long time. But overall, the way Finland set up just basically guaranteed Denmark the majority of possession. So Denmark wins the middle third of the field, wins the midfield battle from the first whistle. It was very, very noticeable very, very early on that Finland's setup was flawed, and they didn't move to a 4-5-1 formation, or 5 at the back, a 5-4-1 formation. They tinkered with it after the goal. Before the goal, they're still a very rigid 4-4-2. They made some variations to that 4-4-2 as the second half progressed, but in all intents and purposes, they were very rigidly stuck to plan A for 70 minutes. Whereas Denmark, they couldn't string that final pass, or their shot selection wasn't right, or they created the opportunity and scuffed chances. It also it said something when the best player on the field was the Finnish goalkeeper, Korpela. Several brilliant saves, first and second half. Had a brilliant game against Spain as well. That says something about the game when the best player on the field is the goalkeeper. Christensen in the Danish goal had an easy save to make midway through the second half, just before the Danish goal, and then a fantastic save right at the end, at the beginning of injury time. So not a lot to do with the Danish goalkeeper, but kept focus. And we've seen it in the men's and women's games. The goalies switch off if their team's had a lot of possession and have been dominating play, and it's like a 1-0 or even a 0-0, but the team in front of them has not given up a lot of chances, and that one chance happens and they've switched off and a soft goal is conceded. That wasn't the case for Denmark today. But on looking at this Danish performance, they did labour against a very defence-minded, defence-orientated Finnish side. And I can't see Denmark doing what they did in the last tournament, becoming runners. I cannot see them making it to the final, not on how they played in the first 2 games. While the middle third and the defensive third they've got right, defensively their shape is suspect and leaves them open to plays down the middle with playing 3 at the back, but they got it right today, didn't concede any goals. Their defensive system leaves them vulnerable, and that then puts added pressure on the midfield to win the midfield battle, to avoid them having issues at the back, because they play a high line, they play with 3 at the back. So, yes, they are starting their attacks higher up the field, but if they don't win that midfield battle, they are at great risk of losing the game. Now, Finland didn't really challenge them in the midfield for large spells of this game until after the goal. After the goal, Finland wake up a bit. But Denmark, I have concerns about that defensive system, and I have concerns about the fact how high up the pitch they defend. And if the midfield are in a proper contested battle, and let's say Denmark do make it through to the second round, they're most likely going to be facing England. And as England proved against Norway last night, you can be a very top-level nation at this in the women's game and concede 8 goals. They destroyed Norway last night with the pace on the ball, the movement, and the interchangeable wingers and the interchangeable midfielders just rotating, dummy runs. If Denmark are to progress, and they look likely to, because Spain could take a thumping against Germany, Spain could beat Germany, we just don't know. But Denmark, I think they might have a bit too much for Spain, possibly. But if they are to get through, I can't see them getting past the quarterfinals. I just can't. And yes, Harder gets the goal, and it was weight of possession, but they had an easier job in midfield. Better opposition, like in England. Germany proved it. If they can't win the midfield battle, their defensive line is so high. You need one pacey player, and a reasonably mobile centre forward or striker who's physical, and suddenly that defensive line being high is undone because the physical centre forward will draw one or maybe two of the back three to them, and the pacey player can just run in behind, and the space is created, and then you've got an isolated defender against a very quick attacker. And Finland did expose that in flashes in this game where two of the defenders are drawn to the more physical centre forward, and an attacking midfielder or another striker is now 1-on-1 with the other defender in the back three. And then if you've got a 2-on-1, then you've just created a natural overlap by one player drawing two players in. So that then puts pressure on two of the more defensively minded midfielders to drop back a bit, and that's how you win the midfield battle against Denmark. And I think that's how the Germans did it. And so there are clearly weaknesses in this Danish system. They need a plan B. They didn't have to use the plan B today, but they need to look at their plan B and adjust in their tactics accordingly, because Spain will definitely contest that midfield. Spain have technical ability, and they could easily outpass Denmark and pass their way around that back three. So we'll see what happens, but Denmark themselves, they get the goal, they get the win, they're still in with a shout of qualifying to the next round. And a lot does hinge on the result this evening between Spain and Germany for Finland as well. But Finland, it's a long shot for them to qualify from the group. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will have some more content, the Germany-Spain game, coming up for you very, very soon.